that when God has a job for his children to do, nothing can keep them from that task except for their own disobedience. Okay? So when God has a job for his children to do, there is nothing that can keep them from that task. See, God had a task for Paul to do. Remember, God had already told him that he was going to be, eventually going to be his witness in Rome. And now he's killed. He's stoned to death. But God says, not yet. Come on, Paul, wake up. Because in verse 19 and 20 it says, some of the Jews from Antioch and Iconium came and won over the crowd, and they stoned Paul and dragged him outside the city, thinking he was dead. So the people who stoned him thought he was dead. The disciples gathered around him thinking he was dead, and suddenly he got up and, hey guys, thanks for getting here. Want to go back to the city and preach some more? And so they did. He got up and went back into the city where they continued to minister. As I mentioned, this may be the occurrence that Paul is talking about in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 through 5, where he says, I must go on boasting, although there is nothing to be gained. I will go on to visions and revelations from the Lord. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I do not know. God knows. And I know that this man, whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know. God knows. He was caught up into paradise and heard inexpressible things, things I can't even tell you about. Things that no one is permitted to tell. I will boast about a man like that, but I will not boast about myself except about my weaknesses. Who boasts about the fact that they can't do something? Who boasts about the fact that they are unable to do things that they would like to do? Well, he answers that question in the very next verse of the passage, 7 through 10. In order to keep you from becoming conceited, because I had all of these spiritual gifts and this wisdom and this knowledge and these experiences, seeing heaven, in order to keep you from being conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When we see that we cannot do something, then we have no choice but to acknowledge that when it gets done, it wasn't us, it was God. So, my grace is sufficient, God says, for my power is made perfect in weakness. It's made complete. So Paul continues, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, that's when I am strong in the Lord. As a church, we can always rejoice in the work of God in the lives of those God has called his servants to reach. Oh, we typically rejoice in the things that we get to do. And if somebody else is doing it, we don't really care about it, you know. But God says, you can rejoice in the good that God has been doing through other people. That's what furlough is all about. You go back, you report to the churches what God has accomplished in the country that he has called you to, that the people have been supporting and sacrificing to word, and the people rejoice. Not that they've ever been to Japan before, not that they've ever been to the Philippines before, but the people rejoice at what God has been doing through the one that has represented them as missionary on the field. So as a church, we can always rejoice in the work of God in the lives of those God has called his servants to reach.